Hello everyone, my name is Divya Jain. I am a sports psychologist and we are back with Sports Psych 101 where we discuss one to mental training tip of the day. Today's tip, mental imagery. Now if you're an athlete, you've probably heard about mental imagery, you've probably tried it as well, right? You would have visualized yourself being successful standing on the podium, medal around your shoulders, the anthem playing behind you, fans cheering for you. And that's really a fantastic way of keeping yourself motivated, pumping yourself, keeping yourself disciplined on what you want to do. But there's a lot more that you can actually use with imagery that can make it a very effective mental training technique. To do that, let's first understand what it is that imagery really is. Imagery is a way of thinking or a way of processing information. So let's say I ask you to describe the perfect kick. How you're going to do that is first you're going to imagine that kick in your mind, and looking at that scene you will describe to me how to go about it, right? So that just added 2-3 different layers to our understanding and that description. The images came first, the words came later. So when we're using imagery, we're just making it a lot more efficient. We're cutting out the words and we're only using the images, which is a far more efficient, probably accurate way of thinking, processing information. So how can you use imagery? Imagery is a fantastic tool for mental rehearsal. Right? So especially these days in the pandemic, in the lockdown, players haven't got as much of an opportunity to be able to train. They don't have as many pre-tournament competitions as they would have liked to have. Or let's say even you're learning a new technique, you need to master it. You've done 50 repetitions, 100 repetitions. After a certain point, you will need to take a break, you will need to recover, your body needs to recover, right? Here is where you can actually start to use mental imagery, which is that you start visualizing or imagining yourself executing that same task again and again. And it's interesting because research says that by imagining the same action, it actually activates the same neurons, the same parts of our brain that would actually happen if we were executing the task directly. So what's happened is you've practiced it 50 times on the field, you've practiced it an extra 100 times in your mind, and that entire process, that entire connection becomes that much smoother, that much more automatic. So you're going with far more rehearsals when you actually step on the field. So when we're using imagery, a few things to keep in mind. First, it's a multi-sensory experience. So imagery doesn't just mean visualizing or looking at things. It's also what you hear. It's also what you smell. It's what you feel, right? It's also the movement of your muscles, how your foot feels when it touches the ground. So the more multi-sensory, the more senses you use, the more realistic it becomes, and that serves a more effective cue to your mind to help you in your rehearsal. For this, in fact, players don't just use words as a script. You can also use audio cues. So if you can just put on the sound of a competition and you hear the same cheering, you hear the same whistle, all of those aspects, those can also stimulate those same imagery kind of neurons that are playing up. You can also use videos. So watching videos of yourself executing the perfect performance, or someone who has a similar playing style as you, and then reimagining those in your mind, that's something that can help. The next thing to keep in mind is that with imagery, just like with anything else actually, you don't visualize the outcome, right? Remember, outcomes are not in our control. Standing on the podium as much as we want to is not in our control. What is in our control is the process that we follow. So you don't imagine yourself winning, but you do imagine the winning game, right? So you imagine running as fast as you can. You imagine the way that your legs and your hands are moving. You imagine that jump and what the muscles would feel like as they thrust you up to hit that perfect smash, right? So not winning, but actually the winning game, right? You can also use visualizations to help you problem solve. So in the competition, there could be a lot of new things that come up, a lot of things that aren't in your control. You know, what if a referee makes a bad call? What if your equipment malfunctions? What if, the weather is not what you would like it to be? So you can actually visualize some of these obstacles and then look at how it is that you want to solve them, so that you actually go in with a game plan. You're going far more prepared, right? So as you can see, imagery is not just about imagining the perfect outcome. No, it's about training, it's about preparation, it's about rehearsal, and also actually a fantastic way to relax yourself. On that note, we will see you again tomorrow with a brand new mental training tip.